It started with a notification that felt like a punch to the chest: account withdrawal, $43,000. I stared at my phone as if the digits themselves had betrayed me. My daughter Jessica had stolen from me, my life savings, my security, my retirement fund, and she was somewhere in the Bahamas, laughing, posting photos of herself living a dream I hadn't signed off on. There she was, champagne in hand, Tyler and Linda smiling beside her captions, like finally living the dream, flashing across the screen. I swallowed, heart racing, and made a single call that would change everything. Jessica had always been clever, charming, persuasive, but she'd never done anything like this before, or so I thought. My morning started like any other, the clock reading 6:47 a.m. when my phone rang. "Mom, something terrible happened," she said, voice shaking. In the background, I heard Tyler shouting, water rushing, though now I wonder if it had been staged, just like everything else. The apartment flooded. "We have to be out by tomorrow," she explained. And of course, Tyler's car had broken down too, multiple emergencies requiring immediate cash. My maternal instincts kicked in, the kind that make common sense vanish the moment your child sounds distressed. "How much do you need?" I asked, though. I already feared the answer. "Maybe $8,000, she said. "I just need access to your account for a few days." The words echoed in my head. Access, not alone complete access to decades of saving. But I hesitated only a second. I added her to my account despite the knot forming in my stomach. By 10 a.m., Jessica had access to my $127,000. I set up alerts for any withdrawal over $1,000, hoping for some safeguard. At 2:15 p.m., the first alert came: withdrawal $8,500, apartment deposit, presumably. At 4:45 p.m., another alert: $3,800. Tyler's car, maybe. But then at 6:20 p.m., the alert I'd been dreading arrived: $12,000. By Thursday evening, my account had gone from $127,000 to $33,000 in less than 48 hours. When I finally reached Jessica Friday morning, she sounded distant, detached. "Mom, relax. Moving is expensive," she said casually, and then hung up. I drove to their apartment to see the so-called flood myself. The building was dry, not a single drop of water in sight. The young couple had moved out, leaving behind suitcases and excuses, supposedly heading on a big trip. And then the final blow hit. My phone buzzed with another $43,000 withdrawal. Facebook confirmed it. There they were at O'Hare Airport, grinning with luggage captions, mocking me, Tyler's comment. "When opportunity knocks, you answer," and Linda adding, "Some people save forever and never actually live." My fury bubbled over into silence. The flood, the car trouble, all of it was a lie. The empty bank account, heartbreakingly real. And in that quiet, I realized one immutable truth: it was time to turn the nightmare around. I made one call to my bank, another to someone who specialized in turning dreams into nightmares. By the time the plane had landed in paradise, my plan was already in motion. This wasn't just about money. It was about justice. And I intended to make them understand the consequences of stealing from someone who gave them everything. My daughter had thought she was untouchable. She hadn't counted on me. The first step was understanding exactly what I was dealing with. I called Robert Hayes, a former cop who specialized in financial fraud, a man whose office looked like a detective movie from the 1980s, complete with green-shaded lamps and walls crowded with case files. "Mrs. Sullivan, your daughter isn't just reckless," he said, voice calm but firm. "She's been recruited. Tyler Carter has a history: fraud cases in 3 states, a pattern of targeting young women with family money. Linda is his accomplice. They're professionals." My stomach turned. Jessica wasn't manipulated. She had chosen her role. My own daughter, my little girl, had been a willing partner in destroying our lives. By then, my panic had shifted to focus. I froze future transactions at the bank, filed a police report, and started gathering evidence. Robert dug into Tyler and Linda's past, uncovering outstanding warrants, unpaid taxes, and a trail of victims spanning multiple states. The news was both terrifying and empowering terrifying because my daughter had willingly participated in a sophisticated crime. Empowering because they were not untouchable. They had left traces and we were going to follow everyone. Saturday morning, Jessica went live on Instagram from the resort, drunk careless thinking she was untouchable. "Hey everyone, Jessica here, live from paradise." She giggled, her words dripping with arrogance. "Stop letting fear control your decisions. Sometimes you just have to take what you deserve." Tyler leaned in, smirking like a budget James Bond. Best part is, she probably doesn't even know yet. And Linda, cocktail in hand, added, "Young people need to stop waiting for permission. Take what's yours." They were confessing in real time their crimes in high definition for the world to see. I recorded every second, each laugh, each boast, each casual admission of theft. This was more than evidence. It was proof of intent. No excuses, no manipulation, no gray areas. The $43,000, the lies about floods and broken cars, every fake emergency, it was all documented. I sent the videos to Robert, the FBI, and my bank, ensuring a legal net that would leave them nowhere to hide. Then I contacted Paradise Cove Resort. "I need to speak with your manager," I told them. "These guests used stolen funds for upgrades." Within the hour, they confirmed Tyler had used a cloned card. Every move was being tracked, every lie exposed. By Monday morning, I was ready. At O'Hare, I stood in the international arrivals area, dressed sharply, nerves coiled like steel. Robert was beside me, calm, meticulous, while FBI agent Sarah Martinez, who looked like she could bench press a small car, scanned the crowd with the same intensity. We knew exactly when they would appear. When Jessica, Tyler, and Linda stepped into the terminal carefree and laughing, it felt surreal. Their arrogance was palpable. The smug confidence of criminals convinced of invincibility. "Tyler Carter, you're under arrest for wire fraud." Agent Martinez said, her voice precise, cutting through their laughter. Shock registered instantly. Tyler froze, eyes wide. Linda's smirk vanished, and Jessica, my daughter, mouthed my name, panic flashing across her face. I smiled, waving subtly. "Surprise, sweetheart," I mouthed back. Handcuffs clicked, the sound echoing like justice finally arriving. The carefree vacation was over. My daughter, my accomplices, all facing the consequences of choices they had made. Tears streamed down Jessica's face. "Mom, help me," she cried. But this was no longer about sympathy. This was about accountability. And in that moment, as cameras flashed and agents moved with practiced efficiency, I understood something I hadn't fully realized before. The worst betrayal can catalyze the strongest resolve. From the ashes of theft and deceit, a path forward, justice, protection, transformation was already forming. The aftermath was a whirlwind I hadn't expected. Jessica, Tyler, and Linda were all in custody, but the work had only begun. I watched Jessica cry in jail, not the bravado-filled arrogance of her Instagram stories, but raw, ugly tears. "Mom?" I didn't mean she sobbed. I let her cry for 30 seconds. 30 seconds for the daughter I had raised, the one who had turned my trust into currency for a vacation. "Jessica, you made your choice, stealing from me and mocking me publicly. Now live with the consequences," I said, voice steady. No pleading, no bargaining. The rest of the world had already seen the footage of her confessing, laughing, and justifying theft. This was the moment reality hit. While she processed her new reality, I started connecting dots beyond my own loss. Robert had uncovered Tyler and Linda's hidden accounts, offshore funds, and prior victims across 4 states. Between my stolen funds and other scams, they had taken close to $380,000. The FBI became involved. Wire fraud at $50,000 or more triggered federal jurisdiction. Suddenly, what had begun as a personal betrayal became a federal operation. My daughter, willingly complicit, had unknowingly exposed herself to the full weight of the law. I found victims eager to testify, families who had suffered silently for years. Their anger, frustration, and pain were raw, but they were motivated by a desire to prevent this cycle from continuing. One by one, we built a case that was airtight. The breakthrough came when Jessica got careless drunk and live on Instagram. Poolside, she and her co-conspirators gleefully admitted to taking my money, justifying it as investment in happiness and treating ourselves. Tyler laughed. Best part is she probably doesn't even know yet. Linda added, young people need to stop waiting for permission. Take what's yours. Every word, every gesture captured for posterity. That video became the cornerstone of their prosecution. Tyler and Linda were already seasoned criminals, but their recklessness was their downfall. And Jessica, my daughter. My heart ached, but I had to face it. She had been fully aware of her actions. It wasn't manipulation anymore. It was choice. I coordinated with Robert, the FBI, and my bank to ensure every possible legal measure was in place. Every transaction, every photo, every Instagram story became evidence. Monday morning at O'Hare, reality collided with justice. We positioned ourselves strategically in the international arrivals terminal. My daughter Tyler and Linda walked in radiant with vacation glow, carrying designer luggage and blissful ignorance. Then it happened. Tyler Carter, you're under arrest for wire fraud. Agent Martinez said, voice cutting through the din of travelers. Tyler froze. Linda's confidence crumbled and Jessica's eyes locked onto mine. Mom, she mouthed, panic flashing across her face. I smiled softly, waving. Surprise, sweetheart. Handcuffs clicked. Their vacation ended in an instant, replaced by the weight of accountability. Walking away from the scene, I felt a strange combination of relief, exhaustion, and something I hadn't expected, clarity. The betrayal, the theft, the humiliation had been devastating, but it had also set in motion something extraordinary. Justice had been served, yes. But more than that, a path was forming, one where I could transform my pain into purpose. Every call from other victims, every piece of advice I gave, every moment spent working with law enforcement reinforced one truth. The worst betrayal can become the catalyst for the strongest, most meaningful action. Even as the world watched our story unfold in real time, I realized something profound. My daughter's actions had broken trust, but they hadn't broken me. And in the cracks of that broken trust, I was beginning to build something greater than revenge. I was building protection awareness and justice not just for myself, but for families everywhere. The weeks after the arrests blurred into a strange rhythm of legal proceedings, media appearances, and private reflection. Jessica sat in her cell quieter, now stripped of her Instagram persona, stripped of illusions. When I visited, I didn't rush to comfort her. Instead, I listened measured, watching her confront the reality she had so gleefully ignored before. I convinced myself my mother owed me for my childhood, she said, voice trembling. Tyler didn't force me. I made the choice. And now I've destroyed the most important relationship in my life for money I spent in 10 days. The weight in her words made my chest ache. My child had fallen into darkness willingly, but she was beginning to see it. Her honesty marked the beginning of something neither of us expected. Months passed. She started letters to me, not pleading, not bargaining, but reflecting. The tone changed gradually from desperation to accountability. By year 2, she was teaching financial literacy to inmates, explaining how easy manipulation could be and how to prevent it. Her letters became guides, lessons she had painfully learned firsthand. When she was released, she moved into a halfway house, working for a nonprofit to help formerly incarcerated people reintegrate into society. Our first meeting after her release was cautious. Over coffee, she explained, "Understanding manipulation makes me good at helping people avoid it. It's like being bilingual, but with criminal behavior." Slowly, the trust that had been shattered began to rebuild. We didn't rush it. Monthly letters became weekly calls, then in-person dinners. We avoided discussing the federal case. Instead, we talked about everyday life decisions and how to live responsibly after making catastrophic mistakes. Her transformation was astonishing. Jessica's work began attracting attention. Eventually, the FBI reached out interested in her unique perspective, someone who had been both a perpetrator and a victim of financial crime. After rigorous background checks, she was cleared and began consulting for them, helping law enforcement understand how family members could be drawn into financial scams. I watched her step into a role I never imagined, leading initiatives, interviewing suspects, training agents. The daughter, who had once drained my savings, was now protecting families across the country from people like Tyler and Linda. There was pride, yes, but also a strange serenity seeing her use the lessons of her own mistakes to prevent others from suffering. For me, the work continued alongside hers. I trained law enforcement, advocated for victims, and turned the story of my own betrayal into a blueprint for prevention and healing. But life's tests didn't end there. One Tuesday morning, a call came that made my heart stutter. "Mrs. Sullivan, Detective Williams here. Your daughter's been in an accident. Northwestern Memorial." I didn't wait for details, I was already driving. At the hospital, I found Jessica unconscious, bruised and broken. I held her hand like she was 7 again, whispering, "Mom's here." The recovery was long, painstaking, and humbling. She had to relearn mobility, independence, and trust in others. For weeks, our relationship deepened in ways that had never been possible before, framed not by betrayal, but by care, patience, and shared vulnerability. It was during this period I realized the full weight of what had happened 9 years earlier. The theft, the humiliation, the betrayal. They hadn't just been obstacles, they had been catalysts. They had forced me to confront strength, resilience, and the potential for redemption. Jessica had learned the hard way what accountability truly meant, and I had discovered that my role wasn't just to punish or protect, but to transform pain into something meaningful. The work we did together, consulting advocacy education, was more than professional. It was personal, a testament to how devastation can evolve into purpose. Years later, I watched Jessica board a plane to Washington, D.C. for her promotion, leading the FBI's new National Family Financial Crimes Task Force. My chest swelled with a complicated mix of pride and nostalgia. This wasn't the daughter who had emptied my retirement account. This was a woman forged in consequence, accountability, and purpose. We had built something real, an understanding that even the deepest betrayal could be a foundation for transformation. That evening, Robert called, voice warm on the line. "How do you feel about Jessica's promotion?" I paused. "We've come full circle," I said. 9 years ago, she had stolen my future. Now she was protecting other families from experiencing the same nightmare. "And you're working in the same field?" he asked. "Yes," I admitted, a smile creeping in. "Different roles, same mission." Life had changed in ways neither of us could have anticipated. We traveled, consulted, spoke at conferences, and advised families torn apart by financial abuse. The Morrison family, the Hansons, dozens more, they became living proof that accountability and love could coexist. And slowly, our Sunday dinners, once tense and wary, became genuine. We joked, we argued, we shared stories and perspectives. We avoided past financial mistakes, but the trust we rebuilt was stronger than any account balance could have ever represented. One evening, over tea on the porch, Jessica handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for $15,000. "Part of what I owe you," she said. I hesitated. "I can't take this," I whispered. "Mom, you didn't choose whether I stole from you, but you can choose whether to let me pay back. I want it to count." I accepted it, not for me, but for the program we ran together, donating it in both our names to help victims of family financial crimes. She cried different tears this time, tears of humility, gratitude, and responsibility. By then, our work had national impact. The FBI consulted with Jessica regularly. Families contacted me from across the country sharing stories of how our guidance had prevented theft, saved savings, or rebuilt trust. We became a unit of both justice and redemption. Media features followed, including a Today Show interview marking the 5-year anniversary of the National Family Financial Crimes Task Force. "What would you tell a viewer who just discovered someone they love stole from them?" the host asked. I looked straight into the camera. "You have a choice. Be a victim forever or fight back and turn pain into power. It won't be easy, but it's worth it. If you're lucky, you might even end up with a stronger relationship than before someone robbed you. That night, as we walked through Central Park, Jessica turned to me. When you write your book, I want to write the foreword. What would you say? I smiled. The worst thing I ever did led to the best thing I became. Redemption is possible, but it requires more than saying sorry. It requires proving you've changed every day through accountability and actions. Love and justice aren't opposites, they're partners. She nodded, understanding the gravity of that truth. We sat quietly watching families enjoy ordinary moments, reminded that not all stories end in scandal or heartbreak. 9 years after my retirement fund vanished, I realized the theft had been a catalyst, not a tragedy. Pain had become purpose. Betrayal had become a lesson. And the most important relationship of my life, the one with my daughter, had survived, transformed, and thrived. The story we had lived, from devastation to justice to redemption, became a guide for countless families. I leaned back, breathing in the crisp evening air, knowing that the worst thing that had ever happened to me had in the end shown me exactly how strong I could be. If you've ever been hurt by someone you loved, remember this. You have the power to transform that pain into purpose. Fight back wisely. Hold others accountable and protect yourself, and you might just turn the darkest chapter of your life into a story of resilience, redemption, and hope. If you found this story moving, please like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment sharing your own experience. Your voice matters, and your story could help someone else find strength in the midst of betrayal.